Okay, so let's jump right in. You know, when we think about the biggest disasters in history, we usually see them as just random, right? Totally isolated events. But what if they're not? What if there's actually a hidden rhythm to all that chaos? Imagine for a second that the moments of greatest upheaval on Earth, we're talking massive earthquakes, the fall of entire empires, what if they're all connected to this huge, slow-moving clock up in the sky? So picture this, it's England, 1703. A storm of, almost unimaginable power hits. The famous writer Daniel Defoe was there, and he wrote about it like it was an all-out war waged by nature. This thing wasn't just a bit of bad weather, it was a monster event that completely reshaped the landscape and, honestly, it shattered the country's confidence. And that brings us to the big question we're looking at today, is all of this stuff purely random, or is there some kind of hidden timetable? The analysis we're digging into here proposes a pretty controversial, but you got to admit fascinating, idea that moments like that great storm aren't just one-offs. Instead, they might actually be part of a repeating, maybe even predictable, pattern. Okay, so to really get our heads around this theory, we've got to look up, way up. We're talking about a kind of celestial clock in the sky. It's slow-moving, ticking away every 36 years, and it's been doing that for as long as we've been looking at the stars. The key player here is something called a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Basically, from where we're standing on Earth, it looks like the planets Saturn and Neptune line up in the sky. It happens about every 36 years. You can almost think of it like a cosmic reset button that gets pushed every 3.5 decades. And this isn't some new discovery, ancient astronomers were tracking this. But what's really wild is that this new analysis suggests that these alignments line up with some pretty profound events. This is where it gets really interesting. The core idea is that these 36-year alignments aren't just, a pretty sight in a telescope. The theory goes that they mark these hot spots in time for us down on Earth, periods of major upheaval and transformation, times when all the stuff we think is solid and permanent suddenly feels like it could just dissolve. So let me actually look at the timeline. Does the evidence hold up? Well, the source material lays out this really striking chronology of events. We're talking both stuff happening with the planet and stuff happening with people that seem to cluster right around these planetary meetups. Okay, so take the 1703 cycle. Right around that time, the Earth itself just shakes violently. The Cascadia earthquake hits, one of the biggest quakes in recorded history. It was so huge it sent what they call an orphan tsunami all the way across the Pacific to Japan. And then just a few years later, you get that monster storm we talked about, the one that basically crippled the Royal Navy. And the human cost? Just staggering. We're not just talking about a bad storm here, this was a full-blown national catastrophe. The death toll might have been as high as 30,000 people. Alright, let's fast forward about 100 years to the next cycle around 1809. What's going on then? Well, there's a massive mystery volcanic eruption that actually cools the entire planet. Then a series of earthquakes hit the American heartland, so powerful that people swore they saw the Mississippi River run backward. And get this, in what has to be a stunning coincidence, or maybe not, two guys who would completely change our world, Abraham Lincoln and Charles Darwin, were born on the very same day. Now let's jump to the 1917 conjunction. This one happened right in the middle of a perfect storm of human misery. You got World War I, the Russian Revolution, and the Spanish flu pandemic. It was a time of total chaos. And unbelievably, this period of human breakdown was mirrored by the planet itself, with devastating earthquakes in Italy and major volcanic eruptions and quakes back in the US. The sheer scale of all these events, both human and geological, is just immense, and they're all clustered together in time. Just one earthquake in Italy caused a level of devastation that was on par with that great storm from 200 years before. It's a lot. Okay, let's come to the most recent full cycle, the one that started in 1989. For many of us, this is living memory. It lines up with one of the most iconic moments of, dissolution in modern history, the fall of the Berlin Wall. And this whole theme of dissolving boundaries was just perfectly mirrored in nature. You had the perfect storm, which couldn't have a better name, and a volcanic eruption that literally showed us how easily nature can dissolve our most complex technologies when a jumbo jet flies through its ash cloud. Think about that perfect storm for a second. We're talking about rogue waves over 100 feet high. It's almost the perfect metaphor for the theme of this cycle, right? Just this untamable, chaotic power that dissolves all boundaries. But here's the thing, this pattern isn't just about disaster and chaos. That's only half the story. When you look a little closer, you start to see this consistent dual theme that pops up in every single cycle, and that core idea is this: dissolution and restructuring. It's a two-step process. For every system that breaks down, a new one seems to rise up and take its place. So while that great storm was raging in 1703, new institutions like Yale University were being born. While old ideas were being completely torn down in the 1880s, we were also starting the global temperature record, a totally new way to structure our understanding of the planet. It's like a dance between chaos and order, again and again. So to really get this, you have to understand the two symbolic forces at play here. Think of Saturn as the principle of structure, of order, of the hard, cold facts of reality. It's all about borders, governments, physical laws, things you can touch. Neptune, on the other hand, is the total opposite. It's dissolution, chaos, ideals, mystery, the formless. It's the fog that rolls in. So the theory goes, when these two energies come together, reality itself gets a little fluid. The solid structures of Saturn get challenged by the dissolving mist of Neptune. You know, we often think of history as this neat, orderly timeline, a causes B, which causes C. But what if it's not a straight line at all? What if it's more like a rhythm, a recurring pulse of chaos and creation? To figure that out, we're going to look at history through a very, very different lens. I mean, really think about it. Are massive wars, devastating famines, and mind-blowing discoveries just random noise, a bunch of disconnected things happening all at once? Or just maybe, is there some kind of underlying pattern that connects them all? To explore that, let's go back in time to one particularly wild year. The year is 1846, and the world feels like it's coming apart at the seams while, at the very same time, it's taking these giant leaps into the future. It's a perfect storm of huge and seemingly unrelated events. So over in North America, a massive conflict just erupts. The Mexican-American War kicks off, and it's this huge geopolitical shakeup that is going to completely redraw the map of the continent. It really set the stage for decades of tension. Meanwhile, you jump across the Atlantic, and this just heartbreaking catastrophe is getting worse by the day. The Great Famine in Ireland, set off by this mysterious disease in the potato crop, is causing mass starvation. It's forcing millions of people to flee for their lives, an entire nation's social fabric is just dissolving. And at the same time, you've got astronomers, right? They're staring up into the night sky, and they make a discovery that just blows everyone's minds. A whole new planet, Neptune, is spotted for the very first time. This fundamentally expands our map of reality itself. And then get this, in the world of medicine, something happens that will forever change the human experience, the first successful public demonstration of ether anesthesia. This was a promise of an end to the absolute brutal agony of surgery. A war over land, a famine from an invisible blight, the discovery of a hidden world, and the conquest of pain, all happening in a single year. You can see them right here, just months apart. Are these events really, truly random, or are they all echoes of a single, powerful theme? It's a really cool idea, right? But does it actually hold up? Let's put this lens to the test. Let's look at some other conjunctions throughout history and see if we can spot that same theme: dissolution and restructuring. Okay, let's jump in our time machine and rewind all the way to the turn of the 18th century. Saturn and Neptune are meeting up again. And the pattern here is just stark. World War I is literally dissolving the great empires of Europe. Insane torrential rains are turning the Western Front into this nightmare of mud, a literal dissolution of solid ground. And then the Spanish flu, an invisible Neptunian plague that respects no borders and kills up to 100 million people, way more than the war itself. It was just a period of almost unimaginable chaos and dissolution. Okay, so armed with this new lens, let's go back to where we started, that chaotic year of 1846. Do those events seem a little less random now when you see them through this theme of dissolving the old to structure the new? Look at what else was brewing in the background. The Communist Manifesto was being written. Talk about a powerful, radical new ideology, a Neptunian ideal that called for the complete dissolution of all the existing class structures, the total overthrow of the established order, a blueprint for a whole new world. And remember that medical breakthrough we talked about? The timing here is just uncanny. So the first public demonstration of ether anesthesia happened on October 16th. This is the whole theme in a nutshell, isn't it? A literal dissolution of a fundamental part of human experience, pain. But it's happening inside a highly structured, Saturnian medical setting. An unseen force was finally being brought under control. And this is just incredible. It's the ultimate synchronicity. In the middle of this whole Saturn-Neptune cycle, the planet whose archetype represents mystery and the unseen is literally discovered. The formless is given form, the invisible is brought into the structured map of our reality. I mean, you couldn't make this up. Looking at history this way, you start to see these powerful connections that are so easy to miss otherwise. But what's the big takeaway from all this? What are we supposed to do with this? Okay, so the crucial point here is that this is not a crystal ball. This isn't about predicting the future. It's a tool, a lens for understanding the past. It helps us see a kind of thematic story in times of massive upheaval. It connects events that, on the surface, have absolutely nothing to do with each other. It just highlights these recurring moments where old realities, old structures, old boundaries simply dissolve to make way for the new. And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This cycle of dissolution and restructuring repeats about every 36 years. It really makes you wonder, as we move toward the next alignment, what long-standing structures in our own world, whether they're political or technological or social, might just be starting to dissolve into mist. 1836. Just think about that number for a second. That's how many people in the Netherlands died in a single night when the ocean just swallowed the coast. A truly staggering loss. But what if it wasn't just a random act of nature? What if that one horrific disaster was actually part of a much bigger cluster of global crises, all hitting around the same time? A kind of historical pulse, you know, where the world seems to just fall apart and then rebuild itself all at once. Okay, so let's jump right back to that number. It all kicks off around 1953, a year that saw this really startling pileup of intense global turmoil. So yeah, that number 1836, that was from the Netherlands. But the very same storm slammed the UK and Belgium. All told, more than 2,500 people were killed when the seawalls and dikes, the very structures built to protect them, were just completely overwhelmed. A terrible, once-in-a-century event. But here's where it gets weird, it wasn't an isolated event, not by a long shot. Just weeks earlier, on November 4, 1952, the Earth itself seemed to just crack open. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake, one of the absolute biggest of the entire 20th century, hit off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia. It was so powerful it sent a monster tsunami roaring across the entire Pacific. And sandwiched right between that megaquake and the killer flood, another crisis hit. This time, it was the air itself. In December 1952, London was choked by the Great Smog, a poisonous yellow-green fog of pollution that brought the city to a dead stop. The final toll is estimated to be as high as 12,000 dead. So when you lay it all out like this on a single timeline, it's kind of hard to ignore, right? A monster quake, a deadly smog, a biblical flood, all within about 90 days of each other. Are these just incredibly tragic coincidences, or is there something else going on here? Alright, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about humanity's pretty incredible journey from basically just cowering before nature's nameless furies to actually measuring its most powerful forces. It's really a story about science, about survival, and about coming to terms with the awesome, sometimes terrifying power of the planet we live on. So I want you to just imagine for a second, it's the early 1800s. You've got no satellites, no radar, no warnings whatsoever. When a storm shows up on the horizon, it's a total, terrifying mystery. And back in 1806, one of those mysteries brought absolute devastation to the American coast. You see, before we could track these things, all you could really do was endure them. Your survival basically came down to luck and how strong your shelter was. And the Great Coastal Hurricane of 1806, well, it's a perfect, brutal example of that raw, chaotic experience. Just look at this path of destruction. For days, this thing just churned its way up the coast. It wasn't a storm so much as a multi-day siege. From Georgia all the way to North Carolina, it just left this trail of death and debris. It even played a part in world events, scattering warships during the Napoleonic Wars. And then you have the tragic end of the Rose in Bloom, a single ship, 23 lives lost. It's just a heartbreaking reminder of the storm's unforgiving power. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? If you don't have a name for it, you can't track it, you can't warn people about it, you can't coordinate any kind of response. It's just the storm, a singular, monstrous event. This kind of helplessness was the reality for centuries, but it also set the stage for a really crucial leap forward in science. So now let's jump forward, way forward, nearly 150 years. We're going from a world of terrifying anonymity to a moment where we started to put some order on the chaos. Because in 1953, the way we deal with hurricanes was about to change forever. You know, naming a storm isn't just some quirky tradition, it is a vital communication tool. Just think about it, how would you issue warnings for the storm off the coast if there are 3 storms off the coast? Giving each one a distinct human name makes tracking, reporting, and getting those public warnings out infinitely clearer and, frankly, way more effective. And this was the year it all became official policy. I mean, before this, storms were sometimes named informally, but in '53, the US Weather Bureau adopted a formal, alphabetized list of female names. It seems like a simple idea now, but it had these profound consequences for disaster preparedness. And this was it, this was that very first list, and right at the top, Alice. She was the very first storm to be officially given a female name in the Atlantic. This simple list right here represents the beginning of a system that has, no question, saved countless lives by turning a formless threat into a known enemy. Okay, so we learned to name the fury from the sky, which gave us the power of prediction. But what about a force that you can't predict, a force that doesn't form on the horizon, but is just constantly churning right underneath our feet? This is where our story takes a really dramatic turn away from the atmosphere and down into the very crust of the Earth. Whoa, take a look at that number, over 20. That's how many major earthquakes shook our planet in one single month, January of 1995. This one stat just completely reframes the whole idea of a threat. See, storms are seasonal, they come and go. Geology is a constant, relentless condition. And that's the fundamental difference right there. We can watch a hurricane form, we can track its path, we can see it dissipate. But the forces that drive earthquakes, they are relentless. Those tectonic plates are always shifting, always building up stress that can be released at any moment, anywhere in the world. The power is always there, just waiting. So we've established it's a constant risk. But what about the scale of the power? Now we can measure these events with incredible precision. So let me just take a look at some of the biggest earthquakes ever recorded. This table shows you the kind of energy we're talking about. Each whole number you go up in magnitude represents a massive leap in power. These aren't just tremors, these are events that literally reshape landscapes and release the energy of thousands of nuclear bombs. From Alaska to Tibet, you can see the global reach of the Earth's might. This side-by-side comparison really puts it all into perspective. With a hurricane, our science gives us this amazing gift of time. We can watch it develop, we can track its path, we can get people out of harm's way. With an earthquake, there is no warning. The threat is constant and the impact is instantaneous. Science lets us build safer buildings and create response plans, but it can't give us a forecast. It's a completely different kind of challenge. So after all this, what does this whole journey, from an unnamed storm in 1806 to a precisely measured earthquake today, tell us? What have we learned, and what's the ultimate takeaway here? This timeline really shows an incredible arc of human ingenuity. I mean, we went from being purely reactive victims of nature's whims to proactively observing, naming, tracking, and measuring its most powerful forces. It's one of the great stories of scientific achievement, really. But, and this is a big but, that achievement comes with a heavy dose of humility. This quote just captures the paradox perfectly. We understand these forces better than we ever have before, we can plot every fault line and model every potential storm path, and yet, when the Earth decides to shake or the wind decides to blow, we are still fundamentally at their mercy. And this is the question we're left with, isn't it? We have come so far, from terror to comprehension, from mystery to measurement. Our science is remarkable. But as we stand here with all of our knowledge, are we masters of our world, or are we just more informed subjects of its incredible, untamable power? It's something to think about. Well, that cycle that started back in 1989 with the fall of the Berlin Wall, it's ending. The next Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening on February 20, 2026. So we're less than 2 years away from the start of what this historical pattern suggests is going to be a profoundly new 36-year chapter. Looking at the historical record, it suggests these transitions, they're not exactly comfortable, but they are profoundly transformative. This analysis isn't making any specific predictions, of course, but it does leave us with a pretty provocative final thought. It feels like we are standing right at the end of one long chapter and at the very first fiery sentence of the next one. So the question is, what story is it going to tell? Around 1809, the theme for this period couldn't be clearer: the literal and figurative shaking of the entire world's foundations. The geological chaos during these years was completely off the charts. We're talking a series of monster earthquakes right in the heart of North America, preceded by a colossal, climate-altering volcanic eruption that nobody even knew happened for 200 years. And that was followed by the eruption of Mount Tambora, the single largest eruption in all of recorded history, which literally plunged the planet into a volcanic winter. And the scale of these events is just mind-boggling. I mean, think about it, earthquakes so powerful they made the Mississippi River flow backwards, a volcanic eruption so big it blotted out the sun, leading to a year without a summer that triggered massive famines across the entire globe. These events didn't just challenge structures, they completely rewrote the landscape itself. So after looking at these three distinct, chaotic moments in history, what's the big takeaway here? What does looking at things through this cyclical lens actually get us? Well, it offers a totally different way of seeing the past. Instead of that simple, straight arrow of cause and effect we learn in school, this model suggests history acts more like a wave. You get these intense pulses of disruption across geology, politics, society all at once, followed by periods of relative calm where we rebuild. And let's be really clear about something, this isn't about astrology or fortune-telling. The point is not to predict the next earthquake, it's about pattern recognition. It's a tool for seeing the past in a new light, as a recurring rhythm where our most solid structures are tested, dissolved, and then reformed. Which leaves us with a pretty deep question, doesn't it? If these intense pulses of chaos and collapse are an inevitable feature of history, how do we prepare for them? How do we build societies, systems, and defenses that are not just strong, but flexible enough to endure the next inevitable storm?